you know, the the things that I guess I touched on that were my most passionate things are what I've overcome, and that is, as I've gotten older, and step back and look, I see it's just filled with God. Every step, all of the trials, and so all of those, being adopted, working through all of that, bad choices, coming out the other side, cancer a few times, and coming out the other side. It's hard when you're in it, but they do tend to change how you look at life, how you see things. The gratitude. For me, it's a daily thing. It's easy to find even in the midst of everything that's happening. All the love of my mother. I did not have a father figure that was a loving, any type of a good father figure in my life.
How did you find all that out?
When I was adopted, the adoption agency sent my mom and dad a letter, my adoptive parents. And so it told me kind of the story, he was a family friend, and their gardener. That was in the letter.
Wow.
And they did say, that he didn't want to raise another man's child, and it was all in the letter. I was like, wow, that's quite a letter, and it said that at that point of my birth, my biological mother had cervical cancer, and that was it, no other known medical issues. So they told me everything they could about them, but they couldn't say anything about the biological dad because he ran. He was a Mexican national. So, guess he went back.
Well, hello, BS Squad. Welcome back for another fun episode. I know you're looking around wondering where Dale and Jeremy are. Don't worry, they will be back. But Dale is on a trip. We're going to hear all about it. And Jeremy is making sure that we sound okay. But I have a very special guest for you guys. You are going to be blessed by this lady. I know it, because anytime any of us staff here get to hear some of Lori's story, we all walk away feeling inspired and blessed. And she just radiates God's hope every time she tells pieces of her story. And I haven't got to hear the whole thing, so I'm excited. I'm learning right alongside with you guys. But this is Lori, my friend.
Hello.
Yes, welcome to the BS Podcast. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you.
And just to give you guys a very quick overview, because we're touching on quite a few different topics. I asked Lori, I was like, man, where do we even start? Just give me what you're most passionate about. And she had a very great list all about self-worth and trust in men and relationships, including God. She says, long list of bad choices here. A lot of us aren't alone there. So we're authentic here. We keep it real. So we love real stories. And she had an adoption journey, and then also a cancer journey. So we have multiple things we're going to be touching on. So buckle up and come sit on the couch next to Lori, because we're going to get into this stuff. But so Lori, for people that are just meeting you for the first time, what parts of your story would you say have shaped who you are today the most?
Oh my goodness. The things that I guess I touched on that were my most passionate things are what I've overcome. And that is, as I've gotten older, and step back and look, I see it's just filled with God. Every step, all of the trials. And so all of those, being adopted, working through all of that, bad choices, coming out the other side, cancer a few times, and coming out the other side. It's hard when you're in it, but they do tend to change how you look at life, how you see things. The gratitude. For me, it's a daily thing. It's easy to find even in the midst of everything that's happening, no matter what.
Would you say it's easy to find now because you've made it a habit?
There's a lot to that. Yes, because you do. It is,
Yeah.
it is, it's a hard choice, and so many times throughout my life, it really was. I would have to stop and make that choice to, okay, where's the good here? Where's what is the good? And doing that and counting your blessings, literally, from the air you breathe to the sky, the trees, the colors. It does become, it's a habit. And on my last cancer journey, I did so much meditation, and it was all spiritual. There was so many things. There was one that I'd sit there and I could picture Jesus, and my happy place was on a beach. And I'd sit, and my whole family, all my friends and families, and this was my meditation that I would do, and I did this every day for an hour, just while I was doing my treatments and stuff at home.
Wow.
And so it's a habit.
Yes. And you're very obviously practiced in it.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go to the beginning.
Yeah.
Take us to before we have this lovely lady that is sitting here and knows how to practice gratitude. Take us way before you even learned
Before
that.
I knew that, yes.
Let's walk through the adoption journey. Give us a little backstory.
So I was adopted as a baby. My mother told me that I was adopted early on. So she didn't want me to be surprised and have those issues. My mom and dad really wanted a little girl. They had a boy already. My brother's 3 years older than me. And unfortunately, they weren't spiritual people. My dad was raised Catholic, and my mother really wasn't raised with any.
Okay.
So that wasn't part of our lives. They got divorced. Well, they didn't get divorced for a long time, but they separated when I was like 4.
Oh.
And so mom's journey with me, she took both of us kids for a while. And then my brother ended up living with my dad, and mom kept me. So it was a single mom who was trying to live.
Were you and your brother close?
No.
No. Okay.
No. And unfortunately, our relationship, I mean, I loved having a brother.
Yeah.
You know, to me, that I just adored him. But he did not adore me.
Okay.
So, and the more I lived with mom and the more he lived with dad, it created an anger in him and a jealousy. And we didn't know it, but it was mostly because of the life he was living with my dad. And that was not a good thing, but mom didn't know it. And so she would bring him to live with us, you know, over time. And he would become jealous and act out on me. And so he would become physical. And so mom would end up having to send him back to my dad's because she was going to hurt him. And she was not that person. But something had to stop because he was hurt. He was a kid, you know. So he was just acting out to the source that he was angry at. But for me, I was just always excited to see my brother, you know. And
how old were you when that started happening?
That's a good question. I would say probably 6, 7.
Yeah. Okay. So
You
like
know,
old enough to remember, and
Yeah.
I bet that
You
was
know.
so hard.
Well, it was
being excited and then having.
Yeah, and then having been mean, you know. And then when he left, I was sad, you know, because it was my brother,
Yeah.
you know. So we just grew up basically that way. He'd come visit for a little while and have to go back, you know. But my mother, she loved me so much. I mean, I was not wanting for love, not understanding exactly what adoption was, you know, as she told me. I don't remember when she exactly told me.
Yeah.
I just always know, I just feel like I always knew.
Yeah.
But we lived in this little apartment, and I don't know, I guess there was a guy that she was living with, and one day she just, she put me on a bus, a Sunday school bus. And I don't remember a lot about it. I just remember I would get up and I'd go to Sunday school. My brother, I don't think, was living with us at the time because I don't remember him going. But that was my introduction to Jesus.
Now, did your mom go with you?
No.
No.
Oh, no. She just put me on a Sunday. It came through the apartment complex and she put me on it.
Okay.
I couldn't have done that. There's no way I mean, today, could you imagine sending your kid to someplace you've never been? No. But she knew I needed to. She knew I needed to know Jesus.
That's fascinating
Yeah.
since she didn't have any
No.
sort of
And
relationship.
that's what I always felt like, that it was someone that didn't believe, because as I got older, basically she talked like she was, she knew there was a higher power, but she wasn't never going to say it was God. And so I'm like, okay, so you're like agnostic, you know, you just, okay. So I always thought that someone who really didn't believe in God put me on a Sunday school bus, because she said, and I talked to her about that recently, and she said, no, I knew you needed to know.
Wow.
She is a believer. So okay, back then you may not have been, but you still knew I needed to. So that was my introduction to Jesus, and the seed was planted. Unfortunately, it didn't grow for a very long time.
Hey, but that was the start.
It was.
And
I always
I'm
knew.
just amazed that is even, to think of a parent who, again, like it wasn't a big part, feel that push.
Yeah.
I'd venture to say that was 100% the Lord
It was.
working in her heart. And
it was.
That's crazy.
Because that was my foundation.
Yeah,
You know, I knew,
okay.
and I believed. I didn't know enough to know where I needed to go with it, but I did
It's the
know.
best start, though.
It was. It was, because in my life, throughout my life, that's where I've always run back to.
Mm.
Now, unfortunately, I've run from, a pit to which I created mostly for myself, and then I'd go, oh, yeah, we need some help. So I'd run back, and this has been my home for many years.
That isn't a lone story. That's
right.
That's a lot of us.
Yes.
Yep. It's
Yes.
that prodigal son a little bit coming back to home, and he has those open arms. So I love that.
Every time.
I love that is pieces of your story. But
Well, it really is.
Growing up adopted, Lori, how did that shape? Because you said like it just was something, but I know when you've talked to us in the past, there was some identity stuff going on. Tell us about how this shaped you.
That's the weird thing. Having all the love of my mother, I did not have a father figure that was a loving, any type of a good father figure in my life. And so Mom loved me enough, but growing up with that missing, and it did, God's guy. So I didn't quite understand it as I was growing up. The picture that was being formed in my heart and in my mind were a relationship with a man. I knew what should be. I knew what I wanted. And I was angry at my mother for years because in my mind as a kid, my dad, who she left, was that daddy that every little girl wants. The daddy that you can sit on his lap and cry, and he'll just hold you and make everything better. I thought that's what she took away, because my childhood memory, I lost a dog, and when they were still together, and I remembered that dog dying, and I remember my dad holding me on his lap while I cried for that dog. And so that was the picture I carried with me as I was growing up, but I didn't have. And so I was angry with her for a long time. But as I grew up, it wasn't because you're young, you just kind of learn and grow. It's not until you start making decisions. So as a teenager, when you start making your own stupid decisions, I was doing lots of bad things. My mother was married to an alcoholic and a drug user, and my mother was a user back then, not hardcore. She was never that person. Legalized marijuana now, but back then it wasn't.
Right. Did you at any point growing up ask, like, why don't I get to stay with Dad? Was that ever?
I tried. I tried to go and visit, and I would go. One time he flew me there, and I spent Christmas with him and my brother, and that was, it was an okay visit. It was wonderful to the little girl that got to be there, but it was the only trip. So he never sent for me, he called me maybe once in a while. I didn't get birthday cards, so he was kind of a disappointment as it was storing up in my brain, and as I became a teenager and I started making my own decisions, I moved out at 17.
Wow.
And so I moved in with a guy at 19. So we would start going to Las Vegas because that little girl still wanted that dad. Yeah. And so spending time with him, we would go there almost every year for a vacation or go to California, and he would meet us there at a family's house. I started learning who he was, and I started realizing that he wasn't who I thought he was. Even if, my mother didn't keep me from him. And that's what I had to realize. She didn't. He never reached out. He wasn't able to. It is not because he didn't care. He loved me. He didn't know how. So I was like, oh, that epiphany of all that anger I had carried. And, I had so much anger as a teenager. You go through stupid things and living at home. And I was living with my mom and my stepdad, who was, like I said, he was a verbally abusive man. He was not a nice guy. Mm. And so the anger, of growing up, the self-worth, wondering, why am I here? Why was I born? Put up for adoption. And so the anger, as it would shift from my mother, a lot of it went to my adopted mother. I had this vision in my mind for years growing up that didn't really start to develop until I was like a teenager, when I could formalize where my anger was going to be. And I had this visual of opening my door and her standing there and me just slamming the door in her face.
Your biological mom.
Yes, my biological mom. And that was my payback. You wanted to find me? Okay, bye. I get to do it now. But the dads, the biological dad, and the thing is, the biological dad ran. So he was a family friend, and he was also their gardener. And so she was already married and had an affair. So that's how I came to be. And apparently she already had 6 kids. Wow. And so her husband, could have done a couple of things, but he agreed to let her carry the baby. He didn't want to raise another man's baby. And apparently that guy didn't want to either. So there's your foundation for men.
How did you find all that out?
When I was adopted, the adoption agency sent my mom and dad a letter, my adoptive parents. And so it told me kind of the story, he was a family friend, and their gardener. That was in the letter.
Wow.
And they did say, that he didn't want to raise another man's child, and it was all in the letter. I was like, wow, that's quite a letter, and it said that at that point of my birth, my biological mother had cervical cancer. And that was it, no other known medical issues. So they told me everything they could about them. But they couldn't say anything about the biological dad because he ran. He was a Mexican national. So guess he went back. So yeah, that laid a foundation that I didn't even realize was going to play such a part of my life. Yep. And then my mother's choice in men, not great. And so they didn't help it. My stepdad, like I said, he was an alcoholic. Anytime he would say anything really good, it was when he was drunk. So you get the drunk slobbering all over you. And as a kid, seriously, you don't want to see that at any time. So yeah, I learned, a lot of bad things. You can't trust men. Made a lot of bad choices to try to get them to love me. Promiscuous. I was horrible. I was a horrible teenager. Drinking, doing drugs. I had no self-worth.
As you're talking, though, I'm thinking of it's crazy because the generational trauma, the generational chains, you almost have double. You have double what a lot of people do. Most people are growing up in divorced homes, but you also, from a young age, carried such a hard story of your history. I can only imagine how that affected you growing up.
I didn't know it. I knew I had certain areas that I was hurt with and that I was angry. I didn't have an overall picture. Yeah. And back then there was no looking up. It was just, as a teenager,
I have a hole, I need to fill it.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And I tried everything to fill it. And it wasn't till I was in my 20s early 20s when my brother had gotten out of the military, and there's a lot in between, but we don't need to go through all of it.
Part two.
Yes, right. He went into the Navy, and he came out, and he had made a decision, apparently, in his mind and his heart, that he wanted a relationship with me. So he came to live with me, and I was living with Henry, Haley's dad. At the time, we weren't married, but we were living together. And so my brother came, and of course I said yes, because it's still my brother, and I still want that. That little girl still wants that closeness. So it was wonderful. We were able to talk. He was able to express that he had been jealous of me for so long because of the life that he grew up with my adopted dad.
Yep.
And he shared a lot of that with me. And, it was horrible. I don't understand how my brother came out of it with the heart he had, because and I was just happy to have my brother. He was not easy to live with. I love him, but he was not easy. And back then, coming out of the military, he was an alcoholic. So, and he hadn't found God yet. His story is incredible. So incredible. And he was the pivotal point in pulling me back to God again.
Wow.
It was amazing. It took him a long time and a lot of bad choices, a lot of drinking, and finally he ended up going to Seattle for school to become a merchant marine. And he met a girl who belonged to Church of Christ, a big church there. And he came back, and he was so, holy roller. I mean, it was like, whoa,
Wow.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you? And the whole family, Henry, his aunts, uncles, cousins, we all, because we were all very close, and Donnie is a very big personality.
Is that your brother, Donnie? Okay.
Very big personality. And so when he came back, he was filled with God so much that it lit us up. And so we all started going to church here in Malala at the Church of Christ over on Fenton.
Wow.
I have a Bible that has everybody's name that got baptized in probably the 2 years that we were going there.
Wow.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And he is such a giving, and he's always been a very giving man. Part of his journey was God told him to give everything away and go work in a mission.
Wow.
And a homeless shelter. And so he did. He even tried to give his truck away, and his pastor told him, okay, wait a minute. You might want to rethink.
You need that to do the mission. Yeah.
Yes. And he went and worked with the homeless for a while.
Oh, my goodness.
So when he stepped
all in.
All in. And
how amazing that impacted you guys so much. What a radical, amazing example of
it was so
seeing
wonderful.
The change.
So wonderful. We were having a Bible study up at our house every week.
Wow. And how old were you? So you were a new mom?
No, I wasn't a mom until I was 30.
Oh, okay. So
I was.
Okay, so you and Henry were together through your 20s?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We got married when we in 92.
Okay.
And we started living together at 19. I think we were like 24 or something when we got married.
Wow.
Somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of fun. Henry was a great guy. He really is. But my brother, he ended up moving away and going to school in Texas, and then landed in Nashville. And that's where he met his wife, and that's a whole nother story too. But he was a real help for me in a relationship where men were concerned, because he also, with who he was, his heart, it gave me something to aspire to. I wanted a partner that had the heart for God and the loving, generous person like he was, without the ADHD. because he has ADHD.
Yeah, hey, it can serve people well. All
Oh,
you
it
ADHD
can.
people out there, your CEOs, and
Right,
yes.
right.
So that
But-
was your first example of a man that you saw.
yeah.
That something where you were like, I might be able to trust if there's a man out
Yeah.
there like this.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
And so while he lived in Tennessee, he wanted me, he sent for me because he wanted to go away to this retreat, this Christian retreat, but he wanted me to go with him.
Mm.
So he flew me to Nashville, and then we drove to Kidron, Ohio. And we went to this, it was called Theotherapy. And it was all Christian-based, and it was therapy. And wow, was that interesting. That's a whole nother story. But it was really a eye-opening time for me, again, because we broke up into these small groups. And the facilitator talked to you about one person that, you have an issue with. And for me at that moment, it was God. And so that person played God, and I got to have my words.
What did that look like?
That was like me accepting that even though I don't feel like I'm worth anything, that my value isn't, but you love me, and I can trust you, and you're still there, and you have been, and so it was just me starting to realize he loves me no matter what.
Mm.
Huh. It was weird.
Up until that point, because you were like, you saw Donnie was radically changed, you wanted something like that,
Mhm.
but you hadn't fully felt like you could trust.
Yeah,
Because
and
at
not
that
realizing
point, had you been looking at all the negatives kind of more so than like
I-
the moments where you're like, oh, that was definitely God was in that detail, but I still went through all this hard stuff. What was
it
that
wasn't-
moment like?
It wasn't in that moment, because we were going through this therapy. Yes, you were dealing with traumas and things like that in your life. So
Mm.
I didn't go through life feeling down. I mean, there were times, yes, when I was very angry and wondered why was I even here? I still don't know the answer to that question,
Mm.
but I know now
He's
there's a
never
reason.
been done with you, girl.
There's a reason. I don't know what, but okay.
I think everyone that gets to meet you knows why.
I
Everyone that gets
I
to
know.
hang out with you, you're a lighthouse.
Well, thank you.
Yes, yes.
It was a moment, a shift in who I was, in being able to take a step into trust.
Mm.
And even though I knew I didn't feel worthy, it was also, I had to be able to trust him and say, you know what, you're worthy of my trust.
That's so good.
And to believe that. And it just kind of sunk in there.
Yeah. Well, honestly, you perfectly answered this question. It was there a moment where you realized you were searching for something deeper than what relationships or people could give you, and what did that look like? So that it perfectly envelops it.
That would be it.
Yeah.
I've been searching since then,
Yeah.
to try to understand.
I love that you say that, though, because I think lots of times, and we just talked about this on a recent episode about Nisa Powers and how we almost elevate people's testimonies very quickly and say, oh, it's gonna be this great journey and you're never gonna have ups and downs, and that's just not the case. So I love that you just said I'm still searching. I think that's something all of us that are trying to follow Jesus in real life, we might not always have the answers. We don't always know why horrible things happen.
No.
But we know that there's peace to be found in pursuing Jesus.
Yeah. There is. Horrible
Yeah.
things happen because we live in a world that is filled with people.
Yes.
And we are people. We make bad decisions. We don't want to. Like he says, I don't want to do these things. I don't want to do these things. I want to step where you want me to step. I want to walk your path. I know I'm human. And I'm going to step here and I'm going to step there. And I have learned that, you know what? I can do that because I'm going to. And he knows that. But I can't mess up his plan. I might deter it, but I can't mess it up. He's still going to see me over here and help me get back there.
Right.
So it's not, I saw this, the visual of, you strain and God waiting there. He wait there for you. And while you're over here, you're floundering and you're dying and you think that he's not there because he's still waiting for you here. And I had, for me, I'm having to accept, and I'm learning, he's here with me too. Even though I'm not walking where he exactly wants me to go, I'm hoping it is because, it's not horrible. I'm not doing bad things. I'm just hoping that this is the path. And I don't know. And it's perspective.
Right.
My perspective is different from someone from the outside looking in. If they knew all the details, depending upon who they are, they're going to give you their perspective on that's God's path. That's not God's path. So it's just learning. And for me today, it's just trying to do the next right thing.
Yeah.
Trying to encourage somebody, trying to love somebody. And that is what I pray, because I know I'm going to make a mistake and I know I'm going to miss opportunities, and I apologize for those because I do. We're human.
Yeah.
But I know he's going to give me more.
Right.
And those opportunities come all the time where you can just encourage somebody, love on somebody.
Yeah.
That's why I love this place.
Yeah. It's a great place.
It's a great place,
sure.
yes.
But that's the beauty of following Jesus is the more tighter you are with it, the more you become more others focused, like what you're describing.
Right.
We all have hurt outside of doing that. Like we've got divorce, we've got addiction issues. There's so many things that everybody's struggling with, but
pick me, done them all.
Yeah, and no judgment here or condemnation in Jesus. But the farther we walk with him, the closer we get to it, I do think you start to feel that peace and you start to know his voice. You read your Bible more, you're praying more, you're in tune with what he is trying to show you.
It's easier to walk.
It's a journey though. Yeah,
it is.
And there's more peace in that. But nobody has ever perfectly walked it except for Jesus himself,
Right.
So I appreciate all the authenticity of what you're sharing. And I think so many of us can relate to it. So what did learning to trust Jesus actually look like for you in real life beyond just believing in him? What was that like for you? Those next steps of, okay, I can trust him. What did that actually feel like?
The peace is amazing. And it's usually in a real traumatic situation.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, I can. One of the most, I guess the biggest ones that hit me, because I know there's a whole lot more, but one of the biggest ones I can think of is the first cancer diagnosis. Sitting in the hospital, getting ready to go in for surgery. Scared to death. And just for some reason, I just started praying. And I cannot tell you the peace that came over me as I was sitting there. And I'm like, it's okay. It's going to be okay no matter what. It's going to be okay. And I was like, okay, let's go do this.
Yeah. It was more than the drugs just hitting.
Oh, yeah. I don't even think they'd give me drugs.
Yeah, just messing with you. Yeah, no, that's amazing.
But and even that time wasn't as impactful as this last time. When I was saying, this last diagnosis is when I had to put a lot more energy into it because it was a stage 4. The first 2 times were stage 0. And so this last time was stage 4. So
3 times, Lori.
Yeah, 3 times. It's been fun.
Oh my
I
goodness.
do not recommend it. But this last journey is when I started doing all the meditations, spending so much more time. I wasn't even reading my Bible. I didn't have time. Not that I hear me say that, and I never want him to think I don't have time for him, because that's a horrible thing to say. But I had a lot going on, and so my time was spent with him when I was meditating and praying at night. Oh my goodness, because I wasn't sleeping well a lot. So my mind would go and go, and I'd spend so much time talking to God. And it was actually realizing that, accepting that if it's not his plan for me to come through this, that's okay. I didn't want to. I had so much I wanted to stick around for. But it was just accepting that, you know what, if this is my time, I hope there's a story in it that will glorify him. And it's okay. And that acceptance has even grown more since then, since I've gone through it the last 5-6 years, to having somebody talk to me about dying and them accepting that it's okay. I'm okay if I die. And I took that and I went, spent a lot of time talking to God and praying about it and realizing, you know what? I'm okay with it too.
Wow.
I am. I still don't want to.
Right.
But if I go tomorrow, it's okay. And so there's a peace in that and a trust, because now I know where I'm going. I know who I'm going to see. I still have some questions around that I'm hoping to get some answers to before I go. But
yeah.
but it's the trust. He's the one I trust, and I know now wholeheartedly that I'm going to mess up every day. And he's the dad that's going to pick me up, wrap his arms around me, tell me it's okay. Let's try again. Yeah. Every day, I get to try again. Every moment. This moment I might stumble, but I get another one. Yeah. And, one more day. I get one more day. Yeah. So I'm grateful for all of those.
Oof. We could end on that, Lori.
That's good.
A mic drop right there. But I have so many more things I want to ask you, but man, that is so good. And I think for those of us who haven't walked through cancer, it's crazy to hear someone with the amount of peace you're speaking with, speaking about, and it's so, it's biblical, like I'm literally like picturing like Paul talking about just, yeah, we're not guaranteed anything in this life. We're not guaranteed to have an easy time. We're not. And I think our Western culture, we love happy endings. We love comfort. Sure. We love just easiness, easy go. And so having cancer and passing is one of the hardest things people can think of for someone, especially who has a family and kids. Yeah. And so before we get too far ahead, I want to go back to when you got your cancer diagnosis. Mm-hmm. Walk us through the emotions, because obviously it's very inspiring to know that at the end of it, you're coming out with so much peace. But walk us through before that. What was that like?
Which time? First, second, or third?
Yeah, any of them. Let's go to the first one.
Okay, the first one. The first one I think was the scariest, even though it was stage 0. You don't know who to trust. You don't know what's going on. Mm. The tests they do, traumatic. The biopsy they did, stuck in my head forever because it was a horrible sound. Didn't hurt, no pain or anything. Just it sounded like a sewing machine. Just like a sewing machine. And I was like, that was weird.
Yeah.
That's not
checking for
right. It was just bizarre, But like I said, that one was odd. That was where I had that first experience where God really calmed me down, and I came through it. We did a mastectomy and reconstruction, and I went on with my life. I just did what I had to do, and they said, they got it all. It was all contained in milk glands, so it was breast cancer. Yeah. And so removing them, no problem. Yeah. No issue. Take them. Yeah. So we only did the one. Hindsight, okay? A year later, we went back and had to do the second one. Oh. So that's
I didn't know that. Is that a common thing to get it in both?
I still couldn't tell you that. But I do know that I have heard of women that do have that, and they just take them both to avoid it. For me, it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, I got 13 years between those two and then my third diagnosis. And the third diagnosis, it was in my bones. It was metastasized through my whole right side.
Oh, my God.
And so they were giving me, their timelines. See, and this is where I was confidently able to stand up against a doctor and say, you don't get to tell me my expiration date.
Wow.
That's for God, not you. So I had to shut him down because he was saying like, yeah, I got 5 years. That was in 2020. So no, you don't get to do that. I don't care who you are. That's for him. And it might be tomorrow. That's okay. It wasn't him, it wasn't you. So you got to deal with conventional doctors and all of that. And that's hard.
Yeah.
It's
Walk
really
us through,
hard.
because you did a mix of conventional and holistic approaches.
Yeah. The first 2 were the conventional ones where we did the
Removal.
Yep.
Yes.
And reconstruction and
Obviously, you can't take out all your bones.
No.
So that's a little
no. And again, it was all contained, So I thought it was fine, 13 years later, I get sick and they give me some antibiotics and it helps for a little bit and I get sick again. And then they finally go, oh, yeah, your cancer's bad,
Wow.
So I'm
What
like,
was there any anger towards God during when it?
that's funny. That's a
coming
good
back?
question. No. Asks a lot of why, a lot of whys, but no anger. So no, I don't blame him for this. In fact, it was me. I kept thinking, what did I do to do this? So I took a lot of that. There goes that self-worth again, in the tank. I did it. I did this to myself because there's a lot of things. But at that point, we knew we needed to try. I didn't want to go do chemo. I didn't, one doctor said, we have a low dose and we can do that, and I'm like, I don't want to. I know what that stuff can do to you. And so we tried the holistic. And thankfully, I was with the husband at the time.
That was fully holistic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The facility is called Hope for Cancer. And it was 6 days a week. I went into the clinic. It was an outpatient clinic. So it was in Cancun. I mean,
Wow.
it wasn't a horrible place to be.
Yeah, right.
And our resort that we went to was right across the street from the clinic. So I just had to walk across the street every day.
Wow.
But it was 6 days a week. We would do treatments from like 8 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, different things. They fed you breakfast and lunch. You did high doses. And it's different for every patient that was in there. For me, it was high-dose vitamin C, high-dose curcumins, light therapy, saunas, heat therapies, diet change.
Wow.
So we hit all of this stuff. And in that 3 weeks, I started losing weight, but came home and things, they test you and they check you out when you get there and then when you leave. And things had definitely improved that 3 weeks that I was there.
Wow.
So it was like, okay, so I went home. And unfortunately, you don't have doctors working with you. You don't have somebody feeding you. And you have all of these, you have a treatment plan. And so, of course, that is, they have a naturopath, that you see. So they figure out your supplements and everything. I was taking like 40 different things. I mean, I had a whole counter full of stuff.
Wow.
No dairy, no sugar, no beef. It was poultry, and I was supposed to eat salmon, wild-caught salmon, once or twice a week. I hate fish. I hate fish.
No.
I tried every way to cook that. Found a sauce that I could make that was dairy-free. And if I smothered it, I would eat it. But I never did enjoy it.
Okay, so anyways, you get back home and
so
I imagine
home.
that's a hard plan to follow.
Oh, my goodness. It was crazy. I basically quit my job. Because
that is a job. 40
that's it.
supplements and trying to do all the sauna and things. I can only imagine.
And making your meals because you had to, oh my goodness, I was freezing avocados because I had to make smoothies in the morning with the powders. And it seemed like I was either in the kitchen trying to make food or stuff for me to make food, or I was doing treatments. And so I was constantly busy.
Were the holistic treatments?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. A lot of light therapy, a lot of heat therapy. I have an ultrasound machine. I have a little shaky machine.
Was it red light therapy? I'm
Yes.
so curious. Okay.
Yes. I had an infrared lamp that I used, and my sauna was a near-infrared sauna. And then the pizza oven, like I was telling you about.
Love that.
Yeah, you really did. You pull this dome over you up to your neck, and you just lay in there for like 45 minutes. takes your temperature up to about 102, 103, and you keep it there. And it's cancer hates heat.
Yeah.
So
okay.
you just hit it as hard as you can with as much heat as possible.
Wow.
It did. It helped with some areas, and a few other areas kind of progressed. So it was helping. After about a year and a half of doing that, then I started having pain. And the pain was really weird. It would wake me up at night. It hurt here in my ribs, and it was just so bizarre. And so,
is that where the cancer had metastasized?
well, it was here in my sternum, and then it was basically, they said it was all through the right side, from like the lung here. And I found a tumor. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. Lump. I called them lumps to my grandson. I have lumps and bumps.
Yeah.
But I found one in my stomach that they hadn't even found.
Wow.
So
now, Lori, I'm so sorry if you answered this and I just missed it.
No.
When you decided that this third time when it came back, you said, I don't want to do chemo. I want to try the natural route. Did you get any pushback? And also,
That's a good question.
What made you decide on that? Was it just like your own research? What was it that made you
That's a
decide to
good
go this
question.
route? I don't think I asked. I'm so curious.
Yes, I did get pushback. It's my family supported me, but
and this was 2020.
Right. So we're going.
People are
we're in
very
COVID.
polarized medically,
Right.
anyways. Okay.
So yeah, we're in COVID.
Wow.
That was a whole experience. Going to Mexico, where every door you walk into, you have to step on alcohol pads, and they spray you as you walk through. Oh, it was horrible. Restaurants were closed. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But I did. Yeah, I got some pushback from family. Not anyone that really said, I don't agree with this. I don't support you. But I could tell from the support to that extent that they weren't real comfortable with me doing this. But I was going to do it anyway.
Did you in your mind say, like, to yourself, was this, and correct me if I'm wrong, was it like, if I'm going to live for the next 5 years, I want it to be without being sick on chemo? Or was there a different reason?
No, it was just a matter, I didn't even think of that part. It was just, if I'm going to live, this is what I'm going to do. And so I'm going to make it work this way, because I know the other route. I know what to expect from that. And if it worked, and it doesn't always usually, I mean, that's the problem, it makes other issues. People end up with heart issues later on. It's not, while you're doing chemo, you have to worry about issues. No, you have to worry about issues after you're done.
Yeah.
And then
What a
they'll
tough
tell you about
decision.
that. That's the stuff they don't tell you. You may make it through all of this, but you could end up with heart issues. You could end up with liver issues. You could end up with any kidney issues. Who knows? Years down the road.
It's so hard, too, because that's the truth. But you have people that are like staunch defenders of big pharma. And listen, like big pharma, there are some great drugs out there that help people.
Absolutely.
But you can't not tell the whole truth and give people informed consent on things. And that's what happens all the time.
But, the doctors are coming from their limited box. And a lot of doctors don't step outside of that box. This is, okay, this is the cancer, this is the protocol, this is what I'm going to tell you to do. Not that this is an individual person that has different genetics that actually play into this. That's where the holistic part comes in. So finding a balance in there is a good idea. Integrative medicine, a lot of hospitals. So it's kind of in the middle. You've got a doctor who's kind of a naturopath, but they think a little more outside the box than your regular oncologist. I had a whole team. I was seeing so many doctors. Had a naturopath that I was going to after I got home, getting IV vitamin C once a week. It was just doing what I can to live at that point. And then, like I said, and then a year and a half later, the pain started. So at that point, things were progressing. And it was a lot of research, to back up again, to go to Cancun. We spent a lot of time, my husband and I, looking at different clinics, different holistic places to go to. And it just seemed like, well, that one seemed like the best one for us. There's a lot of different places. There's Arizona has a clinic that actually does the same holistic treatments and stuff. They're showing up more and more.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work because, again, everybody reacts differently to everything. So for some people, it will cure them. For other people, it will help. And for me, it got my body to a very healthy state. Even though I had cancer, I was in good shape. I had good digestion going on, good stamina. I was walking like 45 minutes a day.
Wow.
So I was actually healthy, except for the cancer.
Right.
But when the pain started, it would get me up in the middle of the night and I would end up out on the couch. You know, my husband would get up and I'd be on the couch with pillows sitting up like this, just going, finally getting an hour's sleep, maybe, you know, and then finally we decided, okay, something has to be done. So I called one of my integrative doctors and talked to him, and he actually suggested a clinic to me in Seattle that does a different type of therapy. That was after we had done more research. And at this point, I was looking at either going back to Mexico or going to Germany.
Wow.
And Germany, no, that one didn't sound so good to me because, well, that's a long ways away.
Right.
My husband wasn't going to go with me.
Yeah.
He was saying, you know, hey, maybe I could take my mom. And I'm like, I think
I feel like it's
I
supposed to be
need
peaceful for me, right?
Right. Love her, but I'm supposed to be the one that needs the help
Right.
here. So,
Right.
okay. So that's when we reached out to that other integrative doctor, and he suggested the place in Seattle. He said, you know, contact them. They do this metronomic kind of therapy, chemotherapy. And it's a low dose, but it's also a different type as opposed to the low dose that your oncologist will give you. They give you kind of a cocktail of things, and they give you about a third of the dose. And you do it weekly. I did it for a year, every week. But cancer responded
Wow.
very well, very well. I mean, because of the pain, the first issue when I went back to the doctor after the pain was they suggested radiation. Prophylactically, they said it could help with the pain. And so at that point, I was anything.
Yeah.
You do get desperate, so anything. And I knew I didn't want radiation, but I was desperate,
Yeah.
and I did it.
Yep.
10 rounds. After the first round, I was like, oh, that's so much better. Can I just stop now? This is great.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we got to do the full 10. So I did the full 10, and I got 2 weeks, and that was it. Pain started again. So then they suggested pain medication. Well, I ended up on morphine. And I'm like, this is not an answer. So that's when we explored and ended up in Seattle. And that was a wonderful place, a wonderful clinic. They did not put the money into their clinic. They put the money into treating the patients. And it was really good. It was a hard road, too. Chemotherapy is not easy. They do it with, I did it with steroids, which was very helpful. And then I had to do this injection in my butt.
Oh.
Oh, my goodness. I'll tell you.
Not for the faint of heart, lady. No way.
If they
You're a
if they
trooper.
do it wrong, which they did the first time in one side, my leg was so painful for a week. I was like, when I went back the next week, I said, you don't get to do that again. So I had someone else do it. And then they came in and they showed them. And after that, you know, every week when I had to get my shots, it was like, okay,
Oh.
let's just do it and be done. And it was much better. If they did it right, it didn't hurt. Your butt hurt, but
Right.
your legs
The
didn't.
chemo was a
The
shot in the
chemo?
butt. Had no idea.
No, the chemo wasn't. That was, it was.
The steroid?
One of them was, it was another medication. Fulvestrant? I can't remember what the injection was, but it was part of it. And then B12 shots. I got B12 shots in the butt every week too.
Yep.
That was helpful
Yes.
with the chemo. And the steroids were helpful with it too. So the day of chemo was okay. You're a little tired, but it was okay. Never did have the nausea that was horrible. Of course, I had nausea medication that I was always on too, so that helped.
Yeah.
But you did great for a couple of days. Sunday and Monday were my down days, and you just low energy, you know. Tuesday, you'd start to feel a little better. Wednesday, a little better. By Friday or Thursday, you start feeling normal. Friday, you do it again. So it was a
Wow.
long process, and it sucked. There's
I imagine
no
it's
nice way.
a depressing season because
That's another part.
yeah, and I almost like hesitate to say this because I don't want to sound super insensitive and out of touch, but I will say all 3 of my pregnancies I was sick the whole time.
Oh,
Nausea.
right.
And I know it's nowhere near the same thing.
Oh, no.
Like, so I'm not even
No,
comparing.
it could be
But
worse, I think.
no. But I distinctly remember thinking like this must be how cancer patients feel. And it's so depressing. I don't even want to get out of bed because everything makes me sick. You know, and it was like but with that you see an end in sight. At least it's only 9
Yes,
months.
right.
But with this, how long were those treatments for?
I did it for a year,
Wow,
and
it's so hard.
then I switched to a pill. You know, and there were times, you know, you have certain stages in the treatment over the year. And so you did one cocktail for like 12 weeks, and then you do another one for 12 weeks, and you did this for the whole time.
Mm.
And you're not always able to make that full 12 weeks because you just can't. You know, some reason you're nauseated more and more. You have more symptoms. So they'll stop that one and start the next one. So for the most part, there were a couple of them that I wasn't able to finish.
What
And
kept you going during this time, Lori?
God.
Yeah. Okay.
So much. Because
tell
the
us
depression was horrible. It was horrible. But he got me out of bed every day. I didn't stay in bed. There was something about just getting up and getting dressed. And I couldn't have done it. I know I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have stayed in the situation I was in. Very stressful home life. And that was rough.
Wow.
So many times, I can't tell you how many nights I laid there and sang in my head, "The battle belongs to you," over and over again, because that's what kept me going. That was a good question because it truly was. So many times.
Because you not only had a physical body battle, you also are dealing with stress family wise. That is, most people can only handle maybe one thing at a time. You had double there.
I've never had just one thing at a time. I don't think people do. I think we have multiple plates we spin. Sometimes, you know, some are heavier than others.
Yeah.
And
That's a good point.
you know, but he did. He got me out of bed every day. You know, got me to take a shower every few days. It was all him, because truly, and then coming out the other side, the depression was so bad. You know, then I was on a pill because we were finished doing the chemo. It wasn't because I was successful and everything was good. It was a maintenance. I was clear. I have no active cancer, but it's what I called my mini chemo, and it was a pill that I had to take twice a day. But I had a lot of the same side effects. You know, my hair did grow back, mostly. Still didn't have much hair. I had no hair on my arms,
Well,
which, you know,
that's
there's
fine.
perks,
Yeah.
right? You know, I don't have to shave my armpits.
Yep, there
Women
you
are
go.
going, "I hate you." Yeah. No, you don't. You don't want this, you know? But there has to be some
Yeah,
perks.
you're looking at
you
the
know?
bright side.
I have to.
Yeah.
I had to, because the depression that I had, I was okay sitting on my couch. I got to be, and that's never who I was, ever. I was always the person that I could stay busy all the time, because sitting and doing nothing, it wasn't that it was unproductive. It's just that I had the energy to do so.
Yeah.
And I got okay with sitting on my couch, watching TV all day, because I didn't have much energy to do anything else, you know. And my husband encouraged me enough that I finally got off of my couch, and that was when I came back here and started volunteering. And it was a huge blessing. I
You're a
needed
huge
it.
blessing. We love having you on the
Oh,
team.
Well, I love being here. I mean, it was the perfect place where God put me.
Well,
know?
you had to take that step too. You know, it's easy to use depression as and I don't want to sound again insensitive,
No.
but an excuse.
Yeah, it is.
But forcing yourself to
That's
take
the hard part.
yeah,
You know,
and you did that.
I've had depression throughout my life, on and off, you know, and it does. And I know it well enough to know that I have to make that. I got to take that step. And it is literally one step.
Yeah.
One step, one day. One step, one day. And it's been a blessing. ever since, just to be around people that love people, that just want to love people.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I know we're running out of time here, and I just could talk to you all day, Lori, but if you had to give someone who's listening, and they're in the trenches right now, any advice or encouragement, what would you tell them right now?
Well, if you don't know God, find him, learn him, get to know him. That he'll get you up every day, he'll walk you through it, and he'll love you all the way. There's nothing like that relationship. There just isn't. And that's my goal every day, is just to try to do the next right thing, to encourage somebody, to love somebody, and ask for forgiveness, because I'm gonna miss them. So
We all are.
we do.
We all need
you know,
Jesus.
but it's
yeah.
that trust there again, you know, and having faith that he's gonna show up anyway, because he does.
Yeah.
He always does.
Oh man,
Thanks.
Lori, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on. We just so appreciate you. We love you, and I know that you definitely added just blessing and value, but just by coming on and sharing your story. So we thank you and appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and listening. I know I love having guests on and sharing these stories. They're so special. So thank you for hanging out. If you made it this far, please share the show. That is the only way we are growing, and we absolutely need your guys' help. You're part of the BS squad. So if this added value, like I know it did, go ahead and throw it in that group chat. And as always, you can send us your questions at bspodcast@foothillsonline.com, and we'll look forward to hearing from you guys.